You found it. Your home for the best content on your favorite team, the Fighting Tigers of LSU. Do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, leave your comments below, and be sure to smash that like button. There is a report from Pete Sampson and Bruce Feldman at The Athletic. And if you're not familiar, Pete Sampson has covered Notre Dame for a long time. Bruce Feldman, of course, is a national college football writer, both at The Athletic. And they are reporting that Notre Dame is targeting LSU offensive coordinator Mike Denbrock to be their offensive coordinator. The tweet a bit ago from Bruce Feldman, intriguing potential fit at Notre Dame for the vacant OC job, bringing back LSU OC Mike Denbrock, who ran the nation's #1 offense. Also, his work with the quarterback run game might fit well with Riley Leonard. Again, that was Bruce Feldman earlier today here on Thursday. Now, I know what a lot of you are thinking. It's going to be Matt. Well, did Mike Denbrock sign a contract extension with LSU? No. So let me fill in what I know as of right now. And again, there's been nothing from LSU. There's been nothing from Mike Denbrock. I've pried a little bit today to try to find out what I can here. Here's the bullet points and what I can tell you about Denbrock in this situation with Notre Dame, okay? Number one, let's talk about Denbrock's the new contract with LSU, okay? He initially signed a 3-year deal with LSU, just finishing year 2, and it paid him in the mid-ones. I believe it was 1, 4, 5, 6 as it escalated each year, the contract. The new deal would make Mike Denbrock one of the highest paid coordinators in the country. The offer from A&M reportedly would make him the highest paid coordinator in the country. Mike Denbrock was up in Arkansas for the Broyles Award that Monday, Tuesday, the 4th and the 5th. On the 6th, Wednesday the 6th, is when Denbrock and LSU agreed to their contract extension. Every contract must be approved by the Board of Supervisors before it can be signed and enacted. Well, the Board of Supervisors met on Friday, December the 8th, so only 2 days after. There was not enough time to draft that contract, get it looked over, present it to the board. The next board meeting isn't until February 23rd, at which point, presumably, Mike Denbrock's contract extension would come up for vote. It, of course, would be rubber stamped. He'd sign it, and then he would operate moving forward under his new deal. But as of right now, technically, they have an agreement in principle, a verbal agreement on a new deal, but he has not signed his new contract because it has not yet been approved by the Board of Supervisors. That won't happen until February. So that's an important note just when you talk about Mike Denbrock's contract. The situation is something interesting as well. So it's worth mentioning Mike Denbrock's history at Notre Dame. He had 2 different stints in South Bend. In the mid-2000s, early 2000s, excuse me, he was there from 02 to 04. He left and then returned with Brian Kelly in 2010 and was there from 10 to 16. So 2 different stints. Mike Denbrock, very familiar with South Bend. He's also from the state of Michigan. His hometown's only about 2 hours from South Bend. Now, Mike Denbrock has a wife and a young son. His wife is from New York State. And his son is young and really only knows Cincinnati, where Mike Denbrock was before he came to LSU. So the family doesn't really tie home to Michigan or that area. But for Denbrock, there's a lot of familiarity with Notre Dame and with that area. So there's that point of it that makes sense as well. So there is that tie, right, as well. The real big question is one more sort of circumstantial piece is the agent for Mike Elko, the new head coach at Texas A&M, is the same agent that Marcus Freeman has at Notre Dame. So the same agent that just negotiated on Mike Denbrock's behalf with A&M, and ultimately Denbrock decided to stay at LSU, is also familiar with those negotiations, can talk to Freeman and sort of work the best deal. And by the way, that's what a good agent does. A good agent is always seeking the best possible deal, situation, best possible contract for his or her client. If you're not doing that at all times, then what are they paying you for? You should always be seeking the best possible deal. So this is a good agent doing what a good agent should do. And I have no doubt also that Freeman would be interested. Remember, there's another tie. Marcus Freeman, when he was the defensive coordinator at Cincinnati under Luke Fickell, that was the same time that Mike Denbrock was the offensive coordinator at Cincinnati under Luke Fickell. So you can tell coaching is very incestuous, and there are a lot of connective tissues here. I would tell you this: Mike Denbrock to Notre Dame makes infinitely more sense than Mike Denbrock to Texas A&M. The A&M interest made sense because A&M was all in. Now it is worth mentioning, Mike Elko had been at Notre Dame. Now, Elko and Denbrock did not overlap in South Bend. Elko got to South Bend the year Denbrock left. So they did not overlap. But there's familiarity there, obviously. But what A&M was offering was to make Mike Denbrock the highest paid coordinator in college football. And he turned that down to stay at LSU. It's hard to fathom Notre Dame coming with a better offer than what I was told Texas A&M offered Mike Denbrock. And clearly, Denbrock took less to stay at LSU. As I understand it, the deal LSU gave him was not more than what A&M gave him. It was just enough to incentivize him to stay with his lifelong friend Brian Kelly at a place where they're building, having success. Again, his family is comfortable here. There's a lot of reasons why Denbrock was eager to and or willing to stay at LSU. So what's the differentiator that Notre Dame can offer that A&M couldn't? I don't know. Again, maybe it's just the fact that Denbrock's been in South Bend before, his hometown is close. Maybe that's it. But this is purely speculative on my part. I find that hard to believe. Listen, until the ink is dry on contracts and there's a coach standing at a podium, these things are never done. We've just seen it so many times. And even there are times where coaches are standing at a podium. Remember the Alabama softball coach that LSU had hired and then a day later goes back to Alabama? Billy Donovan took the Magic job, then quit and went back to Florida. Like, sometimes even when you introduce the coach, it's still not done. So it's not done until it's done. But I'm willing to talk about this because it's Bruce Feldman and Pete Sampson. Pete Sampson's covered Notre Dame forever, and Bruce Feldman is a very reputable reporter. So two very reputable sources at The Athletic reporting that Notre Dame is targeting LSU offensive coordinator Mike Denbrock to be their new offensive coordinator. So we will follow this. We'll see how it progresses, but those are some of the factors at play here to see how this may all transpire. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Please leave your comments. I love to interact, and be sure to hit the red subscribe button below.